Hello, beautiful. Let's talk about goal setting. This is a deceptively complex process, right? I mean, on its surface, it looks like it's set a goal, do the things, achieve the goal. Simple, but oh no, 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 no. There are so many things that can potentially pop up between point A and point B when it comes to achieving our goals. We've got all the distractions, unforeseen circumstances, competing priorities. We have decline in motivation, limiting beliefs, all kinds of things that can pop up to derail us on our journey from where we are today to where we want to be, i.e., having achieved our goal. So we need some tools in our toolbox to help us swat away those obstacles like the pesky flies that they are. In the Vibrant Life Society, we use the 4 S's to goal success. The 4 S's are: select the right goal for the season you're in. That's our first step, and we're going to talk more about each of these here in just a minute. The next one is set a healthy mindset. Then we want to strategize your plan for success and, of course, scrutinize your results and make any adjustments. Using this system to goal setting, you can minimize distractions, proactively putting in place safeguards to help you keep track of where you are and not get completely derailed when, life happens. So that way we're consistently achieving your goals without overwhelm, frustration, or getting stuck in the muck, spinning your wheels. With the 4 S's to goal setting success, you can start checking off those goals on your bucket list and building a life you love living. The first S is selecting the right goal for the season you're in. Now you might be wondering, Cassie, what the heck do you mean by season? Well, good question, my friend, and let me answer that for you. For our purposes, a season has a few different meanings. It's a way that we can denote a phase that you're in. So this could be due to your energy level, environmental level, commitments. It's basically kind of a way of saying this is the overall vibe of my life right now. It's what's happening on a big picture. You may have heard, I'm in a season of motherhood, or we're in a season of busyness. I'm in a season of grief. Life happens in seasons. This is something that naturally occurs within our lives. And so we're taking that and shaping it around goals. I also use this term for goal setting because it helps me think in smaller chunks. In this season, what is the overall vibe? And in the Vibrant Life Society, we use a 90-day season. I chose this because I'm a Midwest girl at heart, and that just makes sense to me. We've got the 4 seasons, so every 90 days, things start to change, and so that's where the seasons came from. It just makes sense to my Midwest brain. I hope it makes sense to yours as well. Okay, so we have our term seasons. So why does this matter to you? Why do you care? Why is this different than how you've been setting goals in the past? Because when we think in terms of seasons, it's easier for us to be intentional and realistic with our goals and expectations. We're so much easier on ourselves. We can set realistic expectations. We can put things in perspective, basically. Thinking of everything as a season adds urgency and scarcity at the same time. We know this season will only last for a brief period of time, so naturally we pay more attention to what we're doing. We're bringing awareness to the temporariness of everything around us. And this only benefits us with goals because it spikes our motivation, eases guilt, and minimizes commitment phobia, while at the same time increasing our resilience. Let me give you an example. Let's say you want to eat healthy. Now, that's a pretty vague goal, and we'll get into that later, but let's say, okay, I want to eat healthy. Well, my doomsday mind immediately goes down this rabbit hole, worst case scenario, of never eating an ooey gooey chocolate chip cookie ever again, and that makes me sad and makes me never want to do that. So I spiral out of control, and it spikes my fear, decreasing my motivation and increasing my resistance, however subconscious, to that goal that I actually want to do. I actually want to achieve that. And yet subconsciously, I'm already self-sabotaging. So let's reframe that and say with this season, I'm going to skip dessert. Okay, for whatever reason, I've decided that's what my goal is going to be. Now my brain is comforted because I know I will have a ooey gooey chocolate chip cookie again someday. It's just not going to be for this small season of my life. And that's okay. So let me give you another one. You're in a season of busyness and you need to outsource or delegate. And if you're thinking in terms of seasons, if you aren't thinking in terms of seasons, one, you may not even realize that you're drowning. And two, you hesitate to get the help you need because you have to commit to that indefinitely. There is no end point. There's no reevaluation stop when we don't go in seasons. It's just one continuous long line of life where everything is a crazy whirlwind. But when we go in seasons, there's those natural breaking points. So instead of hiring the cleaning service for the next 3 months, you continue to drown if you're not operating in this season's method. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. So let's talk about what the 4 seasons actually are. So meet the seasons method. First season is resetting. So this is a season to refuel. It's a season to slow down. You are craving the time to kind of restart. You're needing to reevaluate your routines. You're looking at how you're spending your time, how you want to spend your time. It's a time to slow down and kind of recharge. You're creating systems. You're putting things in place so that way when you get into a season of busyness again, you have good foundation. The next season is a season of reinvention. So this is a season of growth. It's a season of exploration. This may be personal, professional, or relational, and you are changing and discovering your true self. Next, we have revitalization. So this is a season of doing. This is a season of high productivity. A lot of times you might be very inspired during this season. You're checking off projects. You've got a lot going on. This is a season of going and doing and being busy. And then the last season is a season of celebration. So a season of rejoicing. And this is a season where you're really focused on just enjoying life and being present in life. Maybe you're traveling. Maybe this is time where you have more time for your hobbies, but you are just getting to enjoy all of your hard work. Okay, so those are the 4 seasons. And by understanding what season you're in, we're able to set the right goals so that we can align your time so you can achieve those. So knowing what season you're in helps you set the right goals for your needs today, where you are today. That's the key. Not where you're going to be in three seasons or, next year. It's where you are today. And so if your body is needing a season of resetting, but you're like, nope, I'm full steam ahead. I'm all into productivity and revitalization, it's not going to go well because you're not in alignment. So how do you actually decide? How do you know what season that you're in? Well, it's mostly intuitive. I believe your season is mostly dictated by your own personal needs. It's by your energy. So the easiest way to decide is to ask yourself how you're feeling. Are you feeling burnt out? Then you're probably going to be going into a season of resetting. Are you feeling inspired? Then you're going into a season of revitalization. Are you feeling restless? Maybe you're looking into a season of reinvention. Or are you just feeling grateful and that's a season of rejoicing? So the first step is to figure out what you are needing. And then the second step is to also look at what's going on in your life, because this is a real world and we can't drop everything as moms. We still have to get people where they need to be. People need to be fed, and things need to happen at work and at home. And so we also need to look at the environmental factors, but it's mostly dictated by your intuition. So looking at what trips do you have? What deadlines are coming up at work? What do the kids have going on? There's going to be times where you're going to want a season of resetting, but needs dictate or are leaning towards a season of revitalization or a season of doing. And we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit as well. Okay? So why does this matter? Why do I care what season I'm in? Well, there's a few benefits. The short answer is it helps you align your time and your goals so that you are making progress, so that you're not stuck spinning your wheels. But using the Centered Seasons framework, you have clarity and purpose leading to more fulfillment, and your actions are aligned, so you're able to do less and accomplish more. All good things, right? Now, the alternative or the typical way that a lot of us have approached goals, or maybe are approaching goals right now, is the balance method, is what I call it. Or the do all the things all the time and tell everyone I'm fine method. In theory, this is what we're trying to achieve. You in the center, us perfectly juggling all the balls, keeping everything and everyone happy and meeting everyone's needs, right? Usually what happens is it ends up looking more like this, right? We are stressed out, we are all over the place, we are overwhelmed, and we end up dropping balls, and we just get stuck in frustration mode. With the balance method, and you can't see me, but I'm doing that in air quotes, you're stretched way too thin. You're not excited about your goals because often we're actually picking should goals. We're not leading with vision in our lives. We're doing what we feel like we should be doing. And so that leads us to procrastinate and spin our wheels, and we get stuck in survival mode. Ew, nobody wants that. Gross. On the other hand, you have the Centered Seasons framework, which leads to ease and flow and freedom, leading to massive action and celebration. Woo! That's what we want here in the Vibrant Life Society, right? So we use the Centered Seasons framework. Okay. So we've talked about how to decide on your season, but one thing I do want to mention is that sometimes there will be conflict between what you're feeling and what your environment is calling for. So for example, you may be needing a season of resetting, but there's a big deadline at work and everyone is already enrolled in sports, making this look like a season of revitalization on paper. And you have like 3 weeks of vacation at the end, so it could also really be a season of rejoicing. How do you decide what your main season is, or how do you categorize this season? These are all good things, right? So how do we know? I would still say that you're in a season of resetting. When in doubt, lead with your energy. Lead with what you need for yourself, because everything comes from you. Your motivation, your momentum comes from you. So we need to be filling up your cup and focusing on self-care and energy so that you can execute in other areas of your life. We can only do what we have energy for. But just because you're in a season of resetting doesn't mean you withdraw from the world and stop being productive. Well, that sounds nice for a weekend. That's not really realistic. So a season of resetting means that your self-care needs to be at the top priority of your list. It's basically just saying, oh, I've identified that I'm maybe heading towards burnout and I need to kind of get some things in order and slow down, which means I need to offload because I have these prior commitments and people need things from me. So I need to make sure as I'm putting together my routines, my schedule for this season, that I am prioritizing resetting. Okay? We're becoming aware. We're taking notice. We're taking inventory, and then we're taking action on that inventory. Okay? So you're approaching burnout, you're in self-care, so you need to come up with some ways to make adjustments. And those adjustments might look like hiring a cleaning service, ordering a meal box for a season, booking a spa day, asking a friend to pick up your kids. And remember, because it's just for a season, these are smaller asks. They're easier to commit to these adjustments because you're saying, this is what I need to do to thrive in this season. And I have this natural reevaluation point later. Okay, so you've identified that you need help, but because you know it's just a season, you can prepare accordingly and get the self-care that you need while delivering on what everyone else needs. Okay? Once you identify your season, you can then align your goals for that season. So this is what some goals might look like. If you're in a season of revitalization, you might be focusing on home projects. It might be, new daily routines. There might be new sports and activities for the kids. It's a season of it's a season of busyness, a season of going. You're getting things done. You're checking things off. Maybe this is the season where you start your business. You launch that new product. You take it up a notch. Whatever it is, this is a season of doing. Maybe you're studying for a new certification for work. If you're in a season of resetting, this might be taking things off your plate. Your goal might be to delegate more this season. Having that be something that becomes part of your practice. Maybe it's having one night a week where you just sit and be present with your kids. That's what this season is going to look like. That is a goal that you're setting for this season. Maybe it's decluttering your house, creating new healthy food routines, being in nature once a week, whatever it is. If you're in a season of rejoicing, a lot of times that looks like you're taking lots of vacations. You're focused on being really present with the kids or with your family or with friends. And maybe it's also just being in the world, being present and enjoying. And a season of reinvention, maybe you're looking into different aspects of you. So maybe that's finding a new therapist. Maybe that's getting a certification at work. Maybe that's starting a business. Maybe it's starting a new hobby. These are the different things, or this is what your season may look like, but this isn't the only thing that your season can look like, okay? So is there a specific order? Does it have to go resetting, revitalization, reinvention, and then rejoicing? No, it can go in whatever order you want. It all depends on what you're needing right now. A goal season, as we're going to talk about it, is 90 days. You may decide you need 2 resetting seasons in a row. When I was going through my divorce, I had like 8 resetting seasons in a row, and that was fine. That's what I needed. There was a lot of change. And so it needed to be a lot of healing, a lot of growth. And then it went into, reinvention. So you might have, a stretch of one season type, and then you do a stretch of another, or you might be jumping back and forth. And it's whatever's right for you right now. Okay, so now that you know your season and you selected your goal, it's time to move into the next S, which is set a healthy mindset. Okay, and now you might be like, oh my God, mindset, why? It's not fun, it's not sexy, but it is key. So we're gonna talk about it. Because what we tell ourselves is what we believe, and we can't change our behaviors until we change our narrative. So when we don't believe we can actually achieve our goals, we're setting ourselves up to fail, right? And that might be subconscious. So you're like, wait a minute, Cassie, hold on. What do you mean I don't think I can achieve my goal? Obviously I do. I just wrote that down. I wouldn't set it if I didn't. But here's the thing. This is where mindset is so sneaky, because sometimes we feel great and we feel like we can conquer the world, but then other times it knocks us down. It's not consistent. And so we have these little voices in our heads, and they're limiting beliefs, and we need to address those. And they live in our subconscious. And so to achieve any goal we set, we must first root out any limiting beliefs tied to that goal. Okay? And a limiting belief, all it is just a false story that we tell ourselves. Okay, but the key there is that it's false. And it typically comes in 3 different flavors. It's a belief that we tell ourselves that make us feel like we can't do something because something is inherently wrong with us. Or we have limiting beliefs around the world that make us feel like we can't do something because no one will let us do that. Or it's something that's too difficult, okay? But here's the thing. Beliefs are not facts. We can change these. These are just beliefs. And so we just need to refute them with fact. And we do that through routines, through consistency, through building momentum, okay? And proving to ourselves that we have what it takes. So here's a few examples of it in action. So your limiting belief might sound like, I could never be successful doing that, right? And so in action, you self-sabotage, or you procrastinate because you're letting the fear win. You're letting the negative self-talk win. And so when we identify that limiting belief and we say, I could never do that, we can combat that with a couple different things. We could combat that with an affirmation. We could find an example of when you actually did do the thing, because a lot of times these limiting beliefs are not even, rational. We have examples from our own self in the past, or we can find something where it's like, well, I can do the thing that she's doing as well. And here's why, and here's how I know. Okay. So let's do an example of losing weight. What does that voice in your head say? Okay, just jot it down. I don't want to know. Everyone has probably set this goal at some point. And sometimes those limiting beliefs are very powerful in this one. But we have to stop and understand and say, this is what I'm thinking right now. And we need to examine that. And we need to flip it on its head and say, maybe your thought was, there's no way I'm going to be able to lose weight. Well, that's a limiting belief, right? And so we can say, what I am capable of is making a good food choice right here and right now. And so we can break that down. And then as we prove to ourselves that we can make that choice, eventually the weight will come off and so on. I use that as an example just because everyone has probably set that goal at some point because the world is annoying that way. But anyway, I digress. Now, I want you to feel awesome all the time. And I want you to feel amazing. And I want you to feel like you can do it. But I also know there are going to be days when you're going to struggle, where you don't feel like you can do it. So we're going to plan for that. Okay, I want you to think of your goal and then think about something that is going to get in your way. And this is going to help you rewrite some of those limiting beliefs, okay? This could be mindset or it could be physical as well, okay? So going back to that example of weight loss. So this is never going to work. I've failed in the past. Okay, so let's do a reflection. Let's do an affirmation. Maybe we set reminders on your phone and we, do an affirmation every half hour before you normally eat or something like that. I don't like to cook. That's an obstacle. That's a physical obstacle for me. I don't like to cook, so I eat out a lot. Well, meal services have worked for me in the past because I don't like to do that. So I remove that excuse from my life because it's like, oh, well, that food is already there. There's literally no reason you shouldn't eat it. And then, maybe one of the obstacles that could come up is it could be potentially raining when you're ready to go for a run. Well, I'm going to plan for 3 times per week, or I'm also going to have this indoor cardio as backup. So we're not only addressing the belief, we're addressing the physical obstacles and saying, this is what I can do to overcome that. Okay. So if you have the Life Redesigned, this is a great time to actually revisit the shifting beliefs lesson if you want to go deeper into this as well. Okay. So next we're going to talk about the third S, which is strategy. And this is where we come up with how you can achieve your goal, how you're actually going to go about doing it. So we've done goals. We're going to talk about routines and habits. Okay, because you've identified the season, you've selected your goal, and you've committed to that belief that you can, and I will say that you will achieve these goals. Okay, so this is where we look at the how to achieving your goals. What are the logistics? What are the habits that you need to implement? First, we need to flesh out your goal. So if you haven't done that yet, take a few minutes to write that out, and then brainstorm everything that you could do to achieve that goal. Okay. So take a few minutes, pause this video, and do that now. Next, we need to create the routines that are going to be your foundation for success. So a good routine is going to fit into the life that you're creating. It's going to open up your schedule and mental space, and it's going to stop you from spending your days putting out fires. It's going to build structure that frees you, okay? So it's not going to put you into a rigid schedule. It shouldn't be down to the minute every day because life happens. We need to put in flexible areas, okay? And remember, it doesn't have to be down. It doesn't have to be like hours and hours to be like, this is my goal working time. focus on creating routines that are about 15 minutes long, okay? Whether that's a healthy morning routine, a healthy evening routine, whether that is, this is the 15 minutes where I always work towards my goal. This is when I declutter my house for 15 minutes. 15 minutes is kind of the key for a lot of us, because even the moms with small kids, we can also usually get about 15 minutes to do something, okay? So I'm not going to cover this step by step here because we do this in our quarterly workshops and we have resources in the society to walk you through all of this. So for example, if you're wanting to do some time blocking, then I would watch the My Ideal Week Masterclass for more detail. Or you could also check out Anchor Routines if you're wanting to create morning and evening routines and you need to revisit those. Also check out your Do This First journal or your Break It Down blueprint to map out your quarter in more detail, okay? So I'm not going to cover this more, but that's the next step. Strategizing your goal. We need to have a plan. We need to know what you're going to implement. And then the last step is the most overlooked piece of goal achievement, but I think it's so important, and it's to scrutinize your results and make adjustments. No one gets their plan perfect the very first time. No one, never in the history of ever has your first going to be the optimized, routine for you or the best plan possible. Everything takes some trial and error. And when we skip this, we end up in this cycle of feeling like if we don't do everything perfect, it's not good enough. And we miss out on some very valuable insights and learnings. And sometimes it's not you, it's the plan just not fitting with reality. Sometimes life happens, so we need to make adjustments. So we create time for this reflection piece to happen regularly within the Vibrant Life Society. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here in this lesson, but if you want to ask some questions, think about what are your wins. Think about what are your struggles, and then why isn't it working? Did you not break it down enough? Did you choose maybe the wrong time of day? Where are some small adjustments that could fix the problem that you're experiencing? Okay, so make sure that you're reflecting and make sure that you're joining the reflection times and the celebration times within the Vibrant Life Society. So that's it. That's the 4 S's we use in the Vibrant Life Society to identify and achieve the right goals at the right time without overwhelm. Again, I'm so glad you're here. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you around.